tonight, Thursday night football. Man, it's good to be back, but it's good to be back to back with good games on Thursday night football. We were treated to a fun one last week. I think Commanders Packers is going to be a pretty great game to watch as well tonight. It's Washington plus 3.5. Our total at 48.5. So I believe we want to screen share here and take you through some of our models Thursday night football game preview elements here. I'll throw it to you, Dave.
Yep, cool. So we are going to pull up our full NFL game prediction for Commanders versus Packers. You can find one of these on dimers.com for every single NFL game. If you're a true sicko, you can find these already up for every game for the season, since those lines are set well in advance due to the nature of the NFL. So, if you want to go find some week 12 predictions, have at it. You can dig in. We got it all there. But these apply for every sport. We have very in-depth previews. The data points vary from sport to sport, of course, with NFL by far being our most comprehensive. So I'll scroll through this preview and we'll talk about a couple of notable angles in this game, as well as just kind of showing you guys what our NFL game previews look like on the site. So you'll find right at the top our projected score. This is just going to be an average output, so you might not always land on one that makes a ton of sense from an NFL scoring perspective. Really, you're going to want to use that, if anything, as an additional data point when looking at a really close spread, which we talked about on Tuesday. If we have a spread that's at like 50% and the model really doesn't have a lean either way, take a look at the projected score. For example, this is a 3.5 point spread. It can end on 3.5. So you're either going to get 26-23 or 26-22 for a 50-50 shot from the model. So this gives you just a little bit more insight on where those average outputs are landing in the numerous simulations every game has from the model. So you scroll down here, you can see your spread probability. Looks like you can actually get Packers -3 on BetMGM instead of the consensus 3.5. So if you do think they cover, that's probably where you want to be. Buy yourself that little push out. And you can click here through our spread, through our over-under, which you see we have a pretty good lean on, and the money line. You won't find any value listed in this section, but you will see our very distinct probabilities in each of the three main game lines. So I'm going to scroll down a bit here. We got touchdowns, but we're going to go past this a little bit and talk about the Commanders' rushing outlook. This is a really interesting backfield comparison to talk about. Jakrowski Merritt, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Sorry, we should just call him Bill.
Call him Bill.
That's probably why he goes by Bill, is because that name is a mouthful. But guy goes from RB4 on the depth chart to leading the backfield in week 1. Him being RB4 on the depth chart was a head scratcher. He looked great in preseason, lots of good stuff coming out of camp. And then he's behind Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols, which just didn't make a ton of sense. And the week 1 game plan showed that was pretty much just nonsense. Smoke and mirrors, coach speak from preseason, not trying to give it all away. He outcarried everyone but Jaden Daniels. He outrushed everyone with 82 yards, picked up a score, broke a huge 42-yard run. And compared to Eckler, who got just 6 totes along with his receiving work, he was clearly the RB1. And when you look in our rushing projections right here, that is immediately reflected. We have a little bit higher of a touchdown probability for Austin Eckler. Looks like our probability for Merritt went down a little bit, about 2-3% over the last 24 hours, but that's okay. 44 projected yards for Krosky Merritt for Bill. And if you go down here receiving, you can see if he's got anything, but he doesn't. I don't think he drew a single target in week 1, so you're not likely to see anything there. Austin Eckler is questionable tonight as of this recording. That certainly would have some impact here. Granted, he gets most of the receiving work, so you're probably more likely to see that get split amongst Deebo Samuel, Rodriguez, McNichols, and some committee style of backfield targets. But Eckler should not be much of a threat to Bill's rushing output. And that looks pretty clear here. projected almost 20 yards below Bill. So, yeah, any thoughts on the backfield for Washington, Greg?
It's a weird spot for me because I think the sharp better, not that I'm necessarily the world's sharpest, but I think the sharp betting mindset here would say this is a good spot to maybe fade Krosky Merritt in a back to earth type moment because the public loves the story, right? He's a breakout guy. Everyone's fantasy team has him. And I think a big part of his big week one, despite having such a big role, was that he broke that 42-yard run. Right? Like, how often is he going to break a 40-plus yard run in a game? If he doesn't, he runs for 40 yards instead of 82 yards last week. So, look, it's easy to play the if game with it. Eckler's injury looms for me because if Eckler was full go, I think I would just lock in some Krosky Merritt unders and play that. But, I mean, if for whatever reason Eckler is out this game, it doesn't sound like a serious injury, they're going to completely unleash him. So it might be a watch for me and just see if we can learn something, even if we miss the window to potentially find some value here. I will say it's very noteworthy to me looking through the best props for this game from the Dimers model. There's a lot of Austin Eckler action in various forms. I mean, under 23.5 rushing yards shows value, under 23.5 receiving yards shows value. At the same time, Austin Eckler's over rushing attempts shows value, and Austin Eckler to score a touchdown shows value. So it almost feels like, we don't know what Eckler's role is going to be. Is he only going to get 3 carries, but one of them is going to be around the goal line? Is he healthy? I think for me, in summary, this is a watch and learn, stay away spot.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty good analysis there. Eckler's had the injury bug before, so this may pop up again throughout the season. And then if that comes, we'll have a pretty good idea of how they'll deploy Bill and the rest of the backfield in that situation. All right. Also probably worth noting that the Packers pulled out the clamps for the run game against the Lions. It's a little different here with Jaden Daniels having the dual threat ability compared to Jared Goff, who's a bit more statuesque. But yeah, definitely worth considering if you're looking at yards in this one. And granted, we only project Bill for 44. It's not a huge smash spot. All right. Let's go take a look at the receiving projections here because there's another good story here with Terry McLaurin. Super quiet week one. Holdout in camp. Did get his deal. Came back after that. Were they easing him in? Was he unprepared? Was it a matter of they were playing the Giants and didn't really have to do a whole lot? I don't know. But I'm a little concerned about the slow start. He only had 2 targets, which is what bothers me more than anything. If it was just a matter of him not being up to speed, I think he would have seen that in the snaps. But he played, I think he led receivers in snaps. Debo had 10 targets, and that was his first game with the Commanders. He only had 1 rush, but that's a guy who factors in multiple facets of the game and had a significantly larger impact than Terry McLaurin, who just got his big deal. So, Austin Eckler had more targets out of the backfield than Terry McLaurin did in this game. So it's a little concerning for me. You look at our projection here, he's only 2 yards ahead of Debo. Exact same touchdown probability. These ghost games aren't unheard of for McLaurin. He only had 3 games with double-digit targets last year. So while he's got immense upside, he's not like the Jamar Chase, the Amon-Ra St. Brown, even the A.J. Brown that we like to think. I think that he is in that tier. So if you drafted him, I'd probably adjust my expectations that he's probably going to settle in a little bit more as a borderline wide receiver 2-3 for these first few weeks. That's not a knock on Terry McLaurin, just an observation based on what we saw yesterday or in week one and going forward, looking at this box score in particular. Yeah. Greg, what are you thinking about the Commanders wide receivers?
I mean, I'll just give you my eye test. I thought Debo looked out of shape, which has been true for a while, and he was still heavily involved in the offense. So to me, like I wasn't overly impressed. It's not like rookie year breakout Debo Samuel showed up to Washington and is a true threat right now. Terry McLaurin's just like out of the picture to start the season, and that probably tracks with the way his summer went, where it wasn't even sure if he was ever going to show up with this team. So yeah, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here with the wait and see approach, but to me, if there was a skill position reception room guy that I'm looking at, it would probably be Debo. I think it's nothing that he looked like the centerpiece of the offense from that regard in week one, despite looking like he needed a week or two to get his legs underneath him. And the point you made is good, though. Terry McLaurin has done this before, right? Even without the context, he's a guy that has felt very boom or bust throughout his career. Either he has a 2-touchdown, 100-yard game, or he has one catch for 9 yards and nothing. So I won't be stunned if he bounces back, but my gut says that Debo Samuel is probably the guy to invest in here.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more there, Greg. Yeah, he looked a little out of shape, but he still took a 20-yard rush end around, sneaking through guys up the sideline and scored. So,
yep.
And I just don't think the 10 targets for a guy who was playing his first game with Jaden Daniels compared to Terry McLaurin, who was thriving with this guy. The number one reason probably Jaden McDaniels was so good last year. 10 targets to 2 targets, or I think he had 4 targets. Just bothers me. So let's swap sides here. Go check out the Packers receiving core. This is a really crowded receiver room. No one drew more than 5 targets in week one. Jaden Reed brought in 3. 4 receivers tied for 2 catches. I think Jordan Love spread the ball around to 10 different receivers, running backs, tight ends. So there's he only passed 22 times. So there's maybe not a lot of volume in this Packers wide receiver offense. I mean, Josh Jacobs is going to be a workhorse until he can't. The good thing I would say about this is Romeo Doubs once again delivered on minimal volume with high output, 68 catches for 2 yards. He's the big play guy. He does lead the projections here, though he has the 3rd highest touchdown probability. So maybe a little boom or bust action there with Doubs as well. 48 projected yards. Jaden Reed, 44. Tucker Kraft, 42. And rookie Matthew Golden, 39. Golden didn't really do much in week one. I think a lot of people are probably curious to see if he makes an appearance in this game. I might take a look at that touchdown value. He's 21%. So if you can get him at plus 400, that's a pretty good spot. I'm going to doubt he's available around there. If he was, we'd probably be seeing him on the Dimers Pro Best Props. But he might catch my attention when I dig into some stuff in this game a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like the Packers receiver room. I haven't for years because I think they kind of have this amalgamation of like 5 different equal caliber receivers, and every year they add one new one to it. This year it's Golden, who I like, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily like him more than Jaden Reed or Romeo Doubs. So you never know. It feels like every game it's a different guy. It's interesting to me just looking through the model's stance on this game. There are quite a few unders in the Packers passing game. Jordan Love under has a 3% edge for his passing yardage prop tonight. Tucker Kraft, the tight end, under has a 3% edge tonight, under. So I don't know. To me, I don't know if that's an indication here that the Packers are going to try and control this game on the ground. You would think that it is a competitive football game, one that even if there are some big plays, it could be, a tight game where both coaches are kind of trying to game manage situationally. So I think the more we talk through this, I'm kind of leaning some player unders tonight and possibly even looking at the total under as we get closer to game time.
Yep, great points as usual. Another thing that kind of sticks out to me is that Tucker Kraft, 42 receiving yards, one of the higher tight end projections output yards we have actually in week 1, aside from the best of the best. So maybe a sneaky guy there if you are looking for a tight end in fantasy because you just lost George Kittle, or like we mentioned in the other show, Brock Bowers is a little banged up. I'm sure he's starting, and if he's active, you're not going to sit him. But if Kraft is available, certainly worth a look if you're comfortable starting a tight end on Thursday night. All right, one more look in this game preview. I think we'll take a look at the touchdown probabilities. I'm going to zoom out here a bit so we can see a little bit more in one. TD probabilities in here are really cool. You'll find the top 5 for each team. So you're getting 10 touchdown probabilities, which is very substantial. I mean, you're getting half of each team's offense, if not more. Top 5 probabilities, so it'll be the highest, the most likely. And you can toggle between first and anytime touchdowns here. While looking at these first touchdown probabilities, I'm just going to bring up that they got the FanDuel touchdown jackpot tonight. It's you bet on a guy to score the first touchdown. If he scores first or last, you'll split your share of the, I believe it's a $2 million bonus bet pool. So I'll be looking at this tonight to try and find my pick. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Jaden Daniels. I like his top probability on the Commanders, so we've got a good chance there to get the first. And then if the Commanders are trailing in this game, I can envision a scenario where they drive down the field, scramble because Packers are playing tight defense, and Jaden Daniels skirts his way in for a touchdown, cashes the last TD, and if he gets both, you get double the bonus. So I'll be trying to find someone in here. I think I'm leaning towards the second-year quarterback in this one. And like we mentioned, a little anytime touchdown value on Austin Eckler in our props page. So, all right, let's move on to the game itself. Look at our best bet in this game. Take a look at the spread. This was 50-50. It's probably because it was 3.5 originally at 3. We do like the Packers to cover at 52%. Commanders 48%. If you can get the Commanders somehow beyond plus money or beyond even money at plus 100, they would be a little play there to cover the -3 or the +3. But as far as going to our best bets, look at that. It's dead even. There is 0 edge. So it's a fair odds play. It's not a bad play by any means. Commanders as an underdog, 0.9% edge, basically fair odds at 39% probability and plus 162 on Caesars. And then the over, which is actually our strongest value in this game, 53.5% probability, 1.5% edge, minus 108 odds, pretty close to even money.
It shut me down. I was leaning the under. The model said not so fast, my friend.
Well, it's reasonable to want to lean in under, I think, on a Thursday night football quick turnaround. Last one was, it did go under, but it wasn't a quick turnaround. It was the first game of the season. I think the defense is probably usually hurting a little bit more on these quick turnarounds, which may favor the over here. But
especially think of that effect on Parsons too, right? Who was already on a snap count in week 1.
Yep.
I would think that the biggest piece of this new look Packers defense is probably on a limited role tonight as well.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, which could help skew this towards the over, could give Jaden Daniels a bit more scrambling room, which obviously is going to lead to quicker drives and more points. So the model says over 48.5. Personally, this is one I might just stay away from at 1.5%. It's telling us there's not a lot of value there. So it's a bet you're kind of making just to make it, I guess, unless you're just a strong believer in the over. But without a very confident edge, comfortable, probably just passing on this one, looking at props, playing our Thursday night football same game parlay, and keeping the primary game line straight wagers to Sunday.
Yep. Yeah. It's a beautiful part of NFL betting, right? You can find different ways to bet it. And if there isn't a sizable edge, or if there isn't something you like enough on one area of the game, go take your talents and your hard-earned money to a same game parlay or to other ways to bet this. I'm with you. At minimum, I was leaning the under until we look closer into the edge with the over. That's enough, honestly, for me to just stay away. And this is something I use the model for all the time, right? If I'm kind of talking myself into a bet that it feels like, okay, I didn't see clear value here, but I leaned this way. Let's see what the model thinks. And then you go to the model and it says the other side. That's usually a good indication to stay away from me. 1.5% for an edge is definitely not all that noteworthy. It's a good little added boost if you're considering playing the over or staying on that side. But to me, there's nothing the model adores here. You don't see that fire emoji on any of these plays. It's more just leans on either way. So very interesting.
One real quick.
Yeah.
One thing I'll just add real quick regarding that 1.5% edge. You won't find this in our best bets pages on Dimers because we have a minimum 2.0% edge for a bet to appear in there. So that's just a little more insight for you. We say if it's under 2% edge, it just is a bet, make it or don't, but we're not going to tell you that there's value there or recommend it as a value play because it's such a slim difference.
Yeah.
We're not talking a long shot here. A 1.5% edge on a plus 1,200 first touchdown score is much different than a 1.5% edge on a game line at minus 108.
Yep. It's a good note. And then to my point on various other ways to bet it, if you go to the props page, there are 11 props for this game with higher than a 2% edge. So plenty of avenues to find value in this game, even though it doesn't show any on the spread or the total. By the way, I think I liked your Jaden Daniels shout. I think given all the talk that we had about the Washington running backs room and maybe the questions with who's available, who's not, what are the roles, Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's going to run the football. We know this. That's the only thing that's guaranteed about Washington. And as the model leans over, okay, now I'm thinking, how do we get there? I feel like Jaden Daniels is a pretty good bet, especially if Parsons is on a limited snap count. So I think that is my play that I have just talked myself into. I'm going to look for one of those every time we do one of these game preview conversations. And shout out to the model for helping me get there. Let's turn to our same game parlay here. Last week, we hit one of these last week, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we did 3 every primetime game, which we will have coming at you all season long, every primetime game, maybe except for the double headers. I don't know if we're going to turn around two parlays on double header nights. Maybe we'll combine them or something. But yep. So we went 1 and 2. We missed Thursday night football. We cashed Sunday night football, and we came up short on Monday night by 9 Caleb Williams yards. They were driving at the end too, and then like 50 yards of penalties. They took it away. He had it. They went all the way down the field, but the penalties, too much holding on the defense. So they kind of sold us there. Caleb Williams didn't even sell us. It was the Vikings defense selling us.
Classic. But the nice thing about these two, even though we're saying we went 1 for 2 on the primetime games last week, or 1 and 2 on the primetime games, they're plus money enough, and you can play them with boosts that you hit 1 out of 3, you are extremely profitable. So the one we hit last week was, I believe, plus 525. And then the one that we are going to present to you for Thursday Night Football tonight with an odds boost up at Bet365, you can get all the way up to 9-1 odds. So with that, take it away, Dave. Tell us what we're betting tonight.
Yeah, cool. So let's pull this up. We touched on a lot of this already, just kind of speaking about it and scrolling through the same game or the game preview. So we're just going to kind of hit this pretty quickly here, talk about maybe why we like each of these legs a bit more. But Romeo Doubs, 40 receiving yards. Like I said, it didn't take much to lead the Packers wide receiver corps versus the Lions. Jordan Love attempted just 22 passes, spread it out to 10 different guys. But Doubs did deliver with 2 catches for 68. He's a patented big play guy. He stretches the field. He makes contested catches. He hit this in 8 out of 13 regular season games last year. Caught a chunk play of 20-plus yards in all but one of those, which is actually what really does this for me. You can get this on 1 play. 2 catches is not a problem for him. We said he projects to lead this room with 46.5 receiving yards. Plenty of upside. Both Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson hit 40 yards, against the Commanders with a dreadfully bad Russell Wilson throwing the ball. So, give me Doubs 1 or 2 big plays and we're there. Second leg, Debo, 50-plus receiving yards. We already talked about this. Debo made an instant impact with the Commanders in his debut. Hauled in 7 of 10 targets, 77 yards, 19-yard rushing TD. He was all over the place. Next two leading receivers were Curtis Samuel with 1 catch and Austin Eckler with 3 catches out of the backfield. It was all Debo in the receiving game. We project that bounce back game for McLaurin with 59 yards, as we discussed earlier, but Debo's right behind him at 57.4, making 50 a pretty nice target. Have some favorable odds for an alternate at minus 115 as well. And we close it out with our guy, Bill. I know we said that earlier we may be, watching and looking here, but we're playing the parlay with the boost, and we're going to take Bill for a touchdown. He is let me double check here on our latest probabilities, as I still have this game preview up. He is our top 5 touchdown probability in this game. Like we said, Austin Eckler is questionable, so that will surely jump up if he doesn't play, if he's banged up and is playing minimal usage. Bill should have plenty of chances. 10 carries for 82 yards and a score, including that big run. We adjusted with him as the RB1. We saw that with his yards projection of 44 over Eckler. 33.9% TD probability when we put this together. I think that was plus 180 odds for that single prop at Bet365, which gave us a little bit of value once you factor in the boost. And this quick turnaround, like we said, might just have the defense a bit gassed. Micah Parsons, who's notoriously not great at stopping the run, and this rookie showed us enough spark to ride with him in week 2. Plus 725 at Bet365. You bet it there. It comes with a boost already at plus 900. If you go into the Commanders versus Packers game on Bet365, you will see this sitting right there for you to bet.
Love it. Yeah, that one hit some elements that, we touched on just player by player already, but I feel like Debo is the Washington receiver I want to back in this game. Romeo Doubs is a guy that literally can do this in one play. You're never out of it, right? If he has 0 receiving yards going into the fourth quarter, he's such a deep ball threat that he can cash it late. And Krosky Merritt, if there is a back, you're going to back. I think Krosky Merritt is the guy to do so with. So I'm in 9-1 with the boost. I think that's fantastic value. And let's lock it in. Let's start our week off with a bang on Thursday night football.